Hello and welcome to Walk and Talk. The date on the Anlian calendar is 314321T2. And that means the date on the Gregorian calendar is Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. And today I would like to talk about puns. Um, I think I'll stick with the tagline: puns are an act of aggression against the English language. Or if that's too long, let's see. Um, puns versus English or something like that. Um, so I was watching this video recently on YouTube, and it brought up something that I was thinking about a lot recently that I've been saying. It was a right wing video. I watch both right wing and left wing videos because the I'm really alien in my beliefs, so none of the humor really gets to me. It's just funny. So they said that humor is always some sort of um, some sort of active aggression, or that humor is always an attack on something. And most people think that puns, even though they are annoying, are neutral in what they attack. I would think people think that puns are supposed to attack the listener in in their lack of attention span. They're not supposed to attack the subject matter because there really is no subject matter. It's just the English language. But I think that it actually is attacking the English language because when I was when I was four, or actually when I was three, is when I first created this independent ego culture mindset where I was going to build sort of my own culture the same way as Westlandia did. And when I was four, all I did my first action, which was to create a language. It was a primitive language. All words are the same. It wasn't supposed to provide something better than English. It's supposed to exaggerate the problems of English to show that they were to show the flaws in English. But ever since then, I've made a lot of puns. And recently, online, my current language is probably about on the same level as English in terms of sound alike words. But there are optional modifiers you can put in. Anyway, if I can make the English language look bad, I can promote the languages that I made up. And so I attack the English language with puns. Now that really got me excited when I was thinking about that because I've told people about this before. For a while, I used to say, "Oh yeah, puns are just easy humor to make." It's not that they're easy humor to make. I mean, I can come up with a lot of puns in a short amount of time, and I do it. Oh, and I do it out of my own original mind. But I do. What was I gonna say? But I'm not very good at making other types of jokes. It's kind of more like I don't want to attack things about people. I don't want to attack things people actually care about. And people don't tend to like come to the defense of the English language. the same way they would come to the defense against like a sex joke, even though I have trouble differentiating a sex pun from another type of pun until I tell it. Um, so I end up telling a lot of those too. Um, I think sometimes actually if you actually tell a sex joke but it's a pun, you're excusing the sex joke because you're saying the joke isn't on the sex, it's on the language. And however, I I kind of interjected this. Um, there's an autism word for this. Starts with an M. Monotropism. Yeah, I'm having trouble getting back to where I was before. So I can go back to the beginning. Um, Puns aren't attacked against the English language. Yes. So when I thought about this, I really got excited because I thought, like, what if I produced a book of puns and then a critic came by and wrote 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 a review that said this book is a heinous attack on the English language, and then I might say that's the point. And another thing I wanted to say was sometimes the English language attacks me as well. Um, it doesn't do so willingly or willfully. It's got kind of a way of getting in the way sometimes. So one time, or actually several times, when I was in high school, I would lose track of my lunch. So I had two bags that I took to school. One was my normal backpack, and one was my over the shoulder laptop bag. And I didn't pack my own lunch. I asked my mom to pack my lunch for me. So I would tell her, pack the lunch in the backpack. And she would most of the time do that, but sometimes she would pack it in the laptop bag. And when it was in the laptop bag, I would think, well, it can't be in the laptop bag because I told my mom not to pack it in the laptop bag. So I would look in the backpack, and I would get I would get incredibly exasperated, or to use another language for clamped, and then I would say I lost my lunch, or I would want to say that, but I couldn't, because if I said I lost my lunch, that would mean I threw up. And throwing up is something that triggers a lot of people, so I can't really do that. Um, I can't really say I lost my lunch. I can't really scream I lost my lunch, in a crowded, school cafeteria. Well, not, it was kind of more like a main room. We didn't have a cafeteria, the um, but I would be too exasperated, or to use another language, verklempt, to be able to formulate another set of words to describe the same thing. So that's the English language attacking me, in that the only words I could come up with at the time would be misconstrued as something else. Um, so to kind of hammer home an older point, that I don't think is in here. Contrasting my worldview with the right and the left. So I believe that instead of laws being laws of the universe or something, it's a there are people who randomly have different ticks and different triggers, and they um, they should ideally form groups where everyone or where nobody has a trigger for the thing that anyone else in the group has a tick to do. And the right and the left both agree on something I don't agree on, which is that these groups should be large and they should cover the whole country. So, people on the left will try to destroy all of their ticks, and they will be and they will speak up for anyone else's triggers, whereas people on the left, or sorry, people on the right will deliberately try to trigger people on the left, and they will try to destroy all of their triggers. So people on the left will, I don't know if I said it correctly, but people on the left will destroy all of their ticks, and people on the right will destroy all of their triggers, and so you'll just end up with a place with all triggers or a place with all ticks. I think that I have mostly ticks, and I don't want to trigger people who are disposed to be triggered to my ticks, but I feel like that is the method by which I get out of things, or I get out of groups, and I embrace the isolation. I embrace the isolation of living in small groups. So I think with technology, I think that with a different method of producing technology and the knowledge that we have currently, it would make it so it was unnecessary to live in such large groups in order to produce the technology to have our full quality of life. That's sort of where it comes down to me is I want to, is that I don't really do a lot of political activism. Like I'll vote once a year, but that's just to keep all. Sorry, I'll vote once every 4 years or 2 years. That's just to keep all of the options on the table. I'm just trying to keep like an even. I'm just trying to keep half Republicans and half Democrats in the Congress, so that will so that wherever the technological solutions come from, they won't be blocked because it's only the technological solutions that are permanent. And Roe versus Wade wasn't permanent. So it's only the technological solutions that have a lasting impact. And it's only those that I really care about. Now this got into more large scale politics than than then I would like. Or actually, I think this kind of bears some explanation actually. So I read Industrial Civilization and Its Future. I would consider the civilization I'm trying to bring about post-industrial, but it's really like based on replicators. I would say that, and it's maybe even post-civilization, given how small the groups are that make it up and how small the legal domains are. Um, in so that was the industrial civilization in its future, or was it industrial society in its future? I don't remember. That was the manifesto of Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. I think that it kind of went over some of the reasons that I like technology as negatives. It kind of said that the technology could not go backwards, and it was a different reason than I thought, but it made just as much sense. So my idea of why technology couldn't go backwards that the was that once technology was created, it physically existed, which meant that it would continue to exist until somebody destroyed it, and it would continue to produce things for everyone. It would it would be harder to destroy it because the passive thing is to keep it going. Whereas if you have a social order, the passive thing is to let it collapse. Um, or the passive thing is to just go back to doing whatever you were doing before, as long as it hasn't been so long, or actually do nothing. Nothing would get done. So if you what Ted Kaczynski said was that the was that what did he say? He said that the technology was I think it was somehow pressuring people to to do things like a technology would present problems that people would need to solve with other technology, and it would also make it so that anyone with the technology outcompeted anyone without the technology in in a in a it made it so that anyone with technology would outcompete anyone without a technology in a competitive market. Um, However, I'm not interested in the competitive market. I'm interested in isolation. And so what he actually, I think I'm remembering what he actually said now. He said that, or he wrote that that once cars were invented, cities were redesigned for cars, and you couldn't walk down the street without being obstructed by cars. You couldn't get from your job to you couldn't get from your house to your job without using your car because there became zoning laws and you couldn't go that far on foot. And so it was more like the technology obstructed people from living the previous way. But I'm not interested in a competitive market. I'm interested in isolation. And so in isolation, I just need to get one person to work towards Anlia that is not triggered by any of the things that could be is not triggered by anything that could be scary about Anlia, and who has the skills to build a website a or a kaleidoscopic atomic printer. And so, in order to find that one person, I mostly sort of advertise covertly to everyone, but I don't expect a lot of people to log on. And that's where my language comes in. My language is an isolate. It doesn't have any ancestors, or any ancestors besides the ones that I made up. And it just sort of appears that I'm making fun of English, right? So on the surface, I'm making fun. On the surface, I'm making a lot of puns about random things, but then you go a little deeper. I'm making fun of English, and you go a little deeper, and I'm promoting online. Then you read some online, and I'm promoting penal sex for all sorts of things. And before that, you might get to the Stardust printer, which I'm promoting, which I know pretty much how to do, but I'm not enrolled in the things that I would need to be enrolled in order to have the resources to do it because of the camp parable, because I can't stay in anything for very long. And why did the camp parable happen? Because I spend all my time in booths thinking about, or I spend all my time in a camp, or a school, or an after school, or a workshop, or a job, or anything. I spend all my time in those places, or home with my parents. I spend my time in those places thinking about how I would design this type of environment, and not enough thinking about what the actual rules are. See you in the future, Future Kevin.